He's awesome.
Woo.
I am. I am. I. Oh yeah. For those of you who don't know, I just got back from Sparta World Trifecta World Championships in Sparta, Greece,
You did.
with Team Oscar Mike, and I got to see Joe Hammonds, the art adapted athlete, get third in the world for para athletes. It was flipping epic. But of course, I've never been to Europe before, so the jet lag just hit me like a ton of bricks yesterday, and I'm
Oh, I'm
just
sure.
getting over it today. Even my boss at work was like, I didn't expect, he's from England.
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to be here today. I'm like, yeah, well, I tried. I woke up at 9 in the morning, our time locally here in Washington State, so what, Pacific. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm sitting on my iPad going, I'm not gonna make it in, bro. Oh God, I'm dead.
I'm sure because what
nine
is it?
hours.
9 hours? Yeah.
But I
Mm.
had to go to, so I left Washington State, so I left out of Seattle at uh, midnight Wednesday, almost midnight Wednesday, so 11:50 Wednesday night. Got to Istanbul 12 hours, 10 or 12 hours later, and then took a flight from there to Athens, which is about the distance of Seattle to Spokane. So about
Mm.
3 hours or so. Got to Athens really late Thursday night. Finally got to the hotel, which is basically a glorified Airbnb um, in some place called Vamvako, Greece. It's about 30 miles out of Sparta. And it's 1:30 in the morning. I've just driven, 200 miles to get there because I couldn't land any closer. And I'm calling the lady on the phone going, I don't know where I am. I followed GPS. I'm freaking out right now. And she didn't understand English that well. It's the first country I've ever been to where English wasn't the first language.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what she tells me to call her friend who understood English better. So I call him. He doesn't know how to help me. And when I go to a hotel or a motel or something like that, I expect a sign like, big letters, Motel 6, Super 8,
Yeah.
Hilton. The sign was probably, I don't know, 12 inches by 12 inches. I mean, it was very, very small. And so I found the front door of their establishment, and I'm like, I'm at your front door. What do I do? And it's on the side of a mountain, so everything's uphill. It would have been a really cool road on a motorcycle, but of course I'm in a car.
Um, I've
Uh,
heard that out there because the roads are narrow too.
oh my gosh, my truck would never have fit
Yeah.
at all. Um, but I thought about it logically. I calmed down for a minute because I've had no sleep at this point. I may have slept an hour on the airplane. And the Turkish Airlines, by the way, freaking awesome. Those guys I can't say enough good stuff about them. But finally walk around the building. So walk down the steps, walk across the deck there, walk up some steps, get to the other side of the office, and there's a key in a door. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I look at the room name because it's there on a placard. I look at my phone. I'm like, oh, that's my room. Go in, put everything down, video the room, make sure that people understand what it looks like, and make sure I get pictures for my social media content and all that,
Hmm.
and pass out. Go the next morning and get to the course for the sprint, and um, I mean it was really cool to see like people that I've just read about, like Nicole Miracle
Hmm.
or and I forget Gregory. I forgot the guy's name who won world champion. Gregory something. Anyway, people I've read about, people I've seen on social media posts, etc. To actually see him in person, and then like I said, mounted up with team Oscar Mike, and we went out and just conquered the sprint. I mean, it was tough. It was a lot longer than our regular sprint was.
Hmm.
So instead of 5K, it was more like an 8K. We were kind of marching through this dry riverbed, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this is cool. And the team lead, Brian, he turns to me and says, Dave, you understand that if they'd gotten rain, this would actually be a river. Wait, what? And he says, no, this is the first time I've been to, first or second time he'd been to Sparta where the river was actually dry. And I'm like, how the heck would you get to this? He goes, you'd trudge through it or you'd swim through it. It would make Central Florida look like Seattle. Like it'd be
Hmm.
that um, or it'd be that maybe that it'd be worse than Central Florida with all the
Yeah.
bogs in Central Florida. Is what I'm trying to say. Um, but we got the sprint done. It was relatively flat. Um, there were some ups and downs a little bit. They had some obstacles that they all look the same, about the same. You'd have here in the States. And then of course we went down to the festival, and that's in the city square, and got to see people getting their first place trophies, and got to cheer on Nicole Miracle. She's one of my OCR heroes,
Yeah.
uh, and I got to cheer her on and see her get her first place trophy, and got we're all looking around for Joe Sena, and of course he's not here. Where the heck is he? He's supposed to. He told me he'd be here. Well, so we had a pretty good time at the sprint. And so we start to mount up for the super the next day. Well, the super's
Well,
a
and
little
that's what
bit,
they do different there, right? It's Friday is the sprint, Saturday is super, and beast on Sunday. Correct?
yeah, it's a 3-day event, and they do it that way. And I had a discussion with the race director about that, like why do you do it that way? Because it seems to make more sense to me. Like I would love to see U.S. races do. And maybe this doesn't make sense to a lot of folk, but after experiencing this now, it makes more sense to me. Do the super and sprint on Saturday. Do the beast on Sunday. But
I I I know part of the logistics why they do it the other way
Mhm.
is because you can start taking down the beast on Sunday.
Or the sprint, you mean?
Well, no, because if you do the beast
Hmm.
on Saturday and then do the sprint and super on
Oh,
Sunday, you can start tearing down the parts of the beast on Sunday
yeah,
that aren't part of the super. And then because the super's first, as soon as the
yeah,
last super racers go through, you can start tearing down the super before the sprint's finished. So it's a matter of logistics of getting it. Just because I've been in trucking and I know
yeah.
that,
That
and I've
makes
talked to other people, that's why they do it because they can start tearing down ahead of time.
that makes sense. Um, it was interesting to do it backwards though, because by the time I got to the beast, I'm just like, okay, I'm ready for this. And you find out that some of those hills outside of Sparta. I mean, when I'm looking at them, the mountains outside of Sparta, yeah, they're huge, they're gorgeous. They're Montana level mountains or higher.
Hmm.
Um, they're Utah level mountains or higher. Those are not the ones you're going up. The ones you're going up look like something we would find in outside of Seattle.
Yeah.
Like they look relatively okay, this isn't going to be too bad. And then you get up there and you're like, oh dear God, this is a heck of a lot harder than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Um, we get to the we get the super done, had a good time at the super. Um, went to some place in um, or actually, well, excuse me, let me back up for a second. Went to dinner at a place in the city square in in Sparta after the sprint. We had dinner eventually, but it took forever to get food, language barriers, etc. I got this brilliant idea in the back of my little tech mind. Hey, let's get a translator app since I have data. So I'd sit there with a translator app and I'd translate what our people wanted to say and turn around to the person and go, "Here, read this," and it worked. I was like, I feel like a complete noob. Um,
I do that at work all the time. I'm working on
really?
trying to learn Spanish, but I do that because of there's a lot down here in Houston. There's a lot of Spanish workers, so I'll get a lot of people. So we'll just sit there and talk with the like he'll have it on their phone, and we'll just talk back and forth through Google Translate. But I've learned enough that I can understand it more, and it's a lot of just the speaking it back for me. But
Well, with the Greek, it literally all Greek to me at that point.
I'm
Um,
sure.
The so Saturday we on the super we ate at a place called Street 73, pizza joint there. Had a Mediterranean pizza that was absolutely to die for. I wanted to get some actual like Greek food.
Hmm.
Laura, one of our teammates, Laura Flynn, had a Greek salad that was just awesome. Well, come to find out, the owner of the establishment was actually one of the racers. So he had just
Oh,
ran his super, and he's sitting there with his bib number on, still has his gear on, but he's like, hey, we'll take a picture and we'll put it on our poster for 2026 when you guys come back. We're like, heck yeah, let's go. Um, but during the super, we ran through a town. I don't remember the town name, just outside of Sparta, And it was really cool because you come up to a chain carry, and these are like, Joe DeSena level chains where they're 80 pounds or whatever, and you're hauling them around.
Hmm.
You get up to this chain carry, this is back of this just gorgeous old church. And it's got two bells in front of it and overlooking the town, the town you're inside outside of, and then of course the bigger Sparta area, and you're able to ring the bells and so forth. But as we're running through the town, all the townspeople come out and they're like, "Bravo, bravo, bravo!" And it was just the coolest thing because everyone got behind it. There was there was nobody that I saw who was PO'd that Spartan was in town.
Yeah.
Everyone knew about it. Everyone thought it was cool. It's not like when I went to Seattle or Dallas or Houston or whatever, and it's like, was Spartan Race? I never heard of that. Everybody knew what was going on. People in
Yeah.
Athens knew what was going on, and it was really cool to see that level of support for this event. And even talking to townsfolk, they're like, "This brings so much life into our community."
Hmm.
It's like, we're sorry you're not going to be here next year. I'm like, yeah, well, so am I. Um, but we finish the super, and everybody's getting ready to go down to the town square, have dinner, etc. And I start heading back to the car because I've got to get my shoes off. My feet are killing me. And there's Joe DeSena right by the toilets. And, and I crack some joke and I'm like, "Hey, Joe DeSena, hanging out by the toilets. What's going on, bro?" And he's like, "Hey, Dave, what's up?" Like, oh, he knows me by name. That I don't know if that's good or not. Um,
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad.
it might not. He knows it's scary. It's when you
Yeah.
have a CEO of a company know you by name. It's like, you think what you want about Joe DeSena, but the dude knows my name.
Yeah.
Um, but he's like, comes up to me, "Hey, so how'd you do?" 4 hours. Not great, but not what I wanted. Okay, so where are you staying? About half an hour out. About an hour out, actually. Oh, got a car? Yeah. Do you need a ride? Like, it was a very odd conversation, but we were just chit chatting about the race and what I thought about my first time in Europe and in Sparta. And then he gets in Mercedes limo, and I'm like, "Joe, I could have gave you a ride, bro." But um, the course was interesting because they added the town, like I said, the town onto
Hmm.
it, onto the sprint course. But you came right back onto the sprint course after running that little loop of the super and through the town and so forth. And when you went to the water station, they actually had that wasn't just water or water and pickle juice and a banana. It was well, there wasn't any pickle juice, and that's fine. But there was water, there was dates and cakes and bananas, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? I guess in the European races, they do that a lot. Is they'll add different foods uh,
Hmm.
into the water stations, and I'm like, oh, this is epic. This makes me so happy. Um, but the uh, yeah, you get done with the super, and then we're mounting up for the beast the next day. Well, it was weird for me because like my normal race time for just for me personally was going to be like 10:30, right? Well, in the States and in Canada, we leave the courses open until like 9 p.m. when the volunteers go home. And anybody who's raced with me knows I'm still pretty slow. I mean, it sucks. I'm doing better, but I'm still pretty slow, especially at a longer race. Once I hit about 9, 10 miles, my body's like, dude, you're done. Um, and pardon me. Um, we start going out for the beast, and I just told the team, I'm like, worry about Joe, get her across the finish line. Do not worry about me. I will be right behind you. The first two races, I was maybe 20 minutes behind him. So I would get up there and as I would yell the one team and I'd hear one fight. So I knew I was close. And I'd get to where they're at and I'd take a bunch of pictures and they'd run off and I'd take a bunch of pictures and we just keep doing that and so
Hmm.
forth. We get to the beast and it was, oh man, you start, like I said, you start getting through some of those riverbeds, and they're pushing and pulling this grit chair with Joe in it. And sometimes Joe would get out and she'd move around and walk and such. And I'm looking at it going, how did you get the grid chair up there? And, oh, we picked it up. Then I actually see them do this, like on the top of the mountain, pick up the grid chair. And sometimes, yeah, they would just pick it up, and one guy would pick up the front end, and one guy would pick up the back end, and they just move it down the mountain. And I'm sitting there
Hmm?
standing there going, anything I can do to help? Like, holy cow, that's amazing.
How do
Um,
you think we get to the swamps in Florida?
yeah, well, no, I've seen you guys do that. That makes sense to me now. But
Yep.
I'm looking at the side of this mountain face going, how the heck is that going to work? And sure enough, it's get the athlete out, they can walk with help, pick it up, boom, done.
Say,
Um,
because Joe can walk, so she'll. I mean,
oh yeah, it was awesome.
I
Um,
watched her in Dallas go up the just scramble right up the freaking the slip wall.
well, one of those events, we'll get back to Dallas in a minute because I do want to talk about
Mhm.
Dallas if that's all right. But the seeing her in Dallas was seeing her in both venues was amazing. But one of the races in Dallas, I don't remember which one. She walked like 80% of it.
Hmm.
I want to say it was the Beast, but I don't recall exactly because I haven't slept since then. But or I may have slept since then. But she walked like 80 or 90% of the Beast, or of that race wasn't even in her chair. And it's like when we were in Dallas, Brian Lee, our team lead, he said everyone gets to have a time in the chair. And I'm like, what? Is everyone gets to experience what Joe goes through? And so we get toward the end of the Dallas, I want to say it was the Dallas Beast. And I decided to take my turn because I wasn't going to do it. I'm like, I can't. If I break her chair, it's my tail. She goes, no, Dave, go in the chair. You're going to be okay. Cool. So I get in the grit chair. And for those of you listening, the grit chair is basically, two little wheels in front where she puts her feet and two wheels on the side like a regular chair,
Hmm.
but it's connected to gears, and she's got two handles that she can provide power and steering. And I'm like a monkey doing a math problem. I'm like sitting there going, what the? I've driven a tractor before, but I know how to do this. And at one point, they leaned me back and to get me over some rough terrain. I'm like, nope, 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 get me out. Nope, 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 nope.
We're done.
We're done. So I walk up to Joe, and I had just met Joe. I've seen her before, but I just really like got to know her on this team. I was there and said, sister, I love you. You're like the queen stud of the universe. Why is that? Because I could not do what you just did. Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Then to see her do that in Greece
Oh,
and
I'm
take
sure.
third of the world. Like,
Yeah, which is so cool.
dude. Um, but the Perry he started at 7:50 a.m. We were 10 minutes ahead of all the elite athletes. And like I told the rest of the team, I'm going to start with the team. I'm going to be slow because my body's already wrecked. Help her get across the finish line,
Hmm.
go. Don't wait for me. I think I was 45 minutes behind the team by the time we were done. Um,
It's not bad.
yeah, so it's not terrible. But like I said, I'd catch up, take a bunch of pictures. They'd run off, or I'd get ahead while they were waiting for folks, and I'd take a bunch of pictures as they passed me. And uh, the at one point, we had just left like the second spear throw. They had a log carry in this one, which was like a kilometer long. The guy there told me just to keep going, and I'm like, okay, because he saw my black headband. One guy running competitive goes, "You forgot your log. You should go back and get it." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." So I didn't do the log carry. They have an event there. Or, one of the obstacles is a um, marble carry, and you literally pick up a brick of marble that is mined at Sparta, and you carry
No.
it for X amount of distance. You can only do it at Sparta. So I'm talking to the race director, and I'm looking at the brick, and I'm like, okay, let's get it. Body's wrecked at this point. I'm already dead to rights. I try to pick the brick up, and I'm like, okay, dude, I'm gonna drop out on my head. Can I just walk? He's like, dude, just go. You're coming. Just go. Like, okay, thank you. I love you, man. Of course, then I asked him if I could ship the brick home and make stuff out of it, but that didn't go over well. But the I tried to get you a brick of a marble from over there, but after we'd done the second spear throw, or the sorry, not the spear throw, the oh, what's that one? You got the big concrete ball with a handle on it,
Atlas ball? Oh, no, no, no. Farmer cake. No, 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 no,
armor.
no. Armor.
You got the chain in the middle and the handle.
Yep,
Um,
armor.
the I had the teams are I already saw the team go ahead of me, and they're out of distance from me, out of earshot and so forth. And I'm walking down the trail, and again, this is on the beast. I had a nice slip and fall right on my tail, and to where there was significant pain in my left hip. And didn't break anything, thankfully, but it was just muscle trauma all over the
Mm.
place. And I sat there crying for like what seemed like a half an hour, and I'm like, I just want to go home. I'm done. And I looked around. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't come this far to fail. I didn't come this far to drop out. Get off your butt and get moving, David. So I stand back up. I didn't even dry my tears. I'm like, I'm gonna keep going, even if I don't do any other obstacle. I'm gonna finish this race.
Yeah.
And I hobbled for a little bit and limped for a little bit, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep moving. So we we got to see like ancient Sparta, at least part of ancient Sparta. It's right there outside the town of Sparta. Got to see the wall where all the names are etched for Spartan world champions, which is kind of depressing because it's kind of in an alley in Sparta, which is it's on a big metal plate, a couple metal plates. They just pop your name in there.
But
Um,
it's still there.
it's still there, yeah, and it's just but you see all the graffiti next to it, and it's like that's kind of depressing, but whatever. Um, the what is it? Hercules hoist doesn't use sandbags. They use basically a metal plate with a tire around it, and it's connected to a big rope. And I just sat there and rode that thing up, and I got stood up and did it. And people are looking at me, isn't that heavy? I'm like, no, it's way heavier in the States. God forbid it gets wet. But
Yeah.
and then we get to the multi-rig. Now I've already at this point I've already seen my team cross. And they've got Joe's descendant standing right there. And he puts the medal around Joe's neck, Jolene's neck, and too many Joes. But puts the medal
Yeah.
around Joe's neck and shakes hands with everybody, has a picture of the team. And I'm like, you know what? That's cool. Great. That the mission's done. I'm going to keep going and get my rest of myself done. I get to the multi rig. Now, I had told the marshal, the course marshal or referee, whatever, that they were demanding I do the penalty loop. And I'm like, well, I don't really have to do the penalty loop because I'm open wave. So, and I'm not even attempting this obstacle because I know I don't have the grip strength to do it. But I wasn't going to argue either. So during the sprint, I did it, the penalty loop. During the B or the super, I told her I would do the penalty loop tomorrow twice because I just no gas left in the tank. Well, I get to the multi rig, and you come down the streets of Sparta, and you get to the multi rig, and then you turn back around and start heading back to the finish line, and get to the multi rig, and she starts she's like, "Hey, how you doing? Here's the penalty loop. You get to do it twice." I'm like, I hate to break a promise, but there's no way I'm going to be able to do that loop. I've had a significant fall. I can barely walk. I have to cross that line. She goes, well, but I know I promised. I'm gonna have to. I'll do it for you four times in 26 when I come back. And she was so gracious and so caring, and made me cry. There was you had to go take a log and grab a hold of the log, do a log carry to a wall, go under the wall, and then come around these barriers and then come back under the wall. You had to do that a series of four times before you finish that penalty loop. She goes, come with me, grabs me by the arm very gently, leads me through the barriers on the one side of the wall, and goes, okay, you're done. You can finish now. I'm like, oh, thank you. Um, so then I, went and did the rest of the stuff, and I crossed the line and met up with the team, and I start to head back to the car. And then, I mean, they put a lot of money into World Championships. It's a whole different experience doing the whole race there in Sparta. Um, but I'm heading past the A-frame, which is on the other side of the street as you're coming to finish the event. And I just shout out top of my lungs, "This is Sparta!" And everybody went just just ate. They just started laughing and cheering, and it was great. Of course, went back to the car, got myself changed up, and got some gas in the car. Went back to the festival, etc. And then we just kind of got some. By the time we tried to go get dinner, I get to where the city square, and like pretty much everybody's head is on the table, and they're all falling asleep. We got pictures of it too. Um, Everyone's dead right. They're just dead tired. But we went to closing ceremonies and awards and all of that, and they got the para athletes up on stage, and I'm sitting there in the secured area, the behind the barrier, for stage and whatnot.
Hmm.
And before this, we are talking to Joe, and talking about like they ran out of finisher T-shirts for World Championships. And he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna get him. How many?" He's asking for our advice and so forth. I'm like, it's a supply chain. I get that. Just get us our shirts. I understand.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, they allow me to go back behind that barrier and take pictures of Team Oscar Mike, because that the whole team was going to go up on stage. I decided, since I wasn't with the team, I wasn't there enough in my book,
Yeah.
that I would stay off stage. I didn't need to be on stage, and I would stay down and take pictures. Um, and I'm totally cool with that. I didn't. Um, so I'm sitting there and I'm taking pictures of the team as they're all mounting up to get Joe up on stage so she can get her award. And they said Joe's name and Team Oscar Mike, and I just remember shouting at this god awful, "Oh, no!" And Joe DeSena, he's probably 10 feet off from me, and he looks at me and goes, "Good one, Dave." You're welcome. So, he was pretty impressed by that. But then they got her up on stage, and I'm there tearing up because it was just such a cool moment to be there
All
and
right.
witness. Um, and then got to give like all the first place finishers, like Nicole Miracle. Got to give her a fist bump. So well done, Nicole. I'm like, whoo, fanboying it up a little bit, and got to take pictures of her on the course, because, like I said, we were 10 minutes ahead of her. And then I'm looking at my watch, going, okay, it's 8 a.m. and 20 seconds. That means she's already started. So I hear footsteps in the distance, and I come off to the side, and that's Nicole. Snap, snap, snap. Good job, Nicole. You're awesome. She was the only elite runner who said anything to me. She goes, thanks, and then runs off. I'm like, that was cool. I just thought that was an interesting, not neat. Thought it was real neat, but um, it was an experience. It was a challenge. I mean, it made a lot of races I've done here in the States look like a Sunday school picnic.
Hmm.
Uh, I I wrote Joe to send an email, on the way out of the hotel heading back to Athens, and I said, thank you for this. I'm sorry it's not going to be here next year. You've got to bring this back to Sparta, because this is this is where we need to be for this. Um, I am forever a changed man, uh, because I can be a little bit vulnerable on this, right?
Oh yeah, always.
Um, I'll admit it. Since my dad died in 22, I have been struggling, uh, a bit, and um, I mean, it sounds bad, but when that's your only family, and the only family you've had, and the only family you seem to will have for quite a while, um, you lose a part of yourself, especially when I took care of him for so long.
Yeah.
And it had me questioning my my worth, my existence, my very life. Don't take that wrongly. I'm not trying to say I'm, suicidal or anything. I'm not. Never have been. But it made me question things like, am I worth, any of this effort, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, no, I had a renewed confidence in myself by the time I got done with Sparta. Um, and that's not to say that's all Spartan. That's a lot of Oscar Mike. I apologize profusely for not keeping up with the team. And every single one of those folks, Joe include little Jolene, Joe. our athlete, that one. Not the Sena, the other one. Um, but Joe included, we're just like, dude, you're doing just fine.
Mm.
And it was a very heartfelt moment to be able to know that I'm worth putting that effort in and that people see that. And when I started Commonman OCR, it's like, oh, nobody's going to give a crap about a fat boy going out there and running his butt off and getting in the mud and whatnot. But
I do.
people, I know, and I appreciate it, believe me. And same thing with more heart than scars and everything else. But I see people looking at my journey and going, yeah, I can identify with that. Um, I can identify with having those struggles and feeling certain ways about things, and I'm not alone. I had one guy pass me in this is after the Super. Um, I got to tell you about this. So I think it was after the Super. There was a bet for, let's see, Brian, our team lead, had to wear a muumuu if Joe placed and podiumed in the event in Sparta. Okay, so he had to go. So a muumuu,
Mm.
you know, I didn't really know what a muumuu was. For those of you listening at home, a muumuu is like an old lady nightgown kind of thing.
Yeah, but it looks comfy.
And
Listen to me.
well, and the thing is Brian has got to be the most master manipulative dude I know because he convinced the whole team to go buy muumuus. So you got
Sounds about right.
the entire team except for me because I didn't have the guts to do it, including Joe. They all go buy muumuus, and we're walking in downtown Sparta, and they're all wearing muumuus, and people are like, "What the heck?" Like, we're Americans. Don't worry about it.
Mm.
Just,
Damn
just,
Americans.
just don't worry about it. We're good. Thanks. And then you hear things like basically saying we're crazy. I'm like, yeah, we're crazy Americans, dude. Just totally good, bro. So, uh, but yeah, it was definitely an experience, and I'm glad to be part of More Heart Than Scars now, part of Oscar Mike, and it just meant a great deal to me to be able to be there and help as much as I could. And then the same thing in Dallas. Dallas was an experience as well because I think they found the only spot in Central Texas that really was. I didn't. They found the only spot in Central Texas that wasn't flat. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, there was quite a bit of ups and downs in Dallas.
there is. The thing was cool in Dallas because I mean I got to see you guys in Dallas because I started the beast with, and it wasn't really. I mean, more heart than scars. We weren't officially helping the blind guy that I was helping, James, but I was helping. Because he needed muscle. Basically, I
Right.
was the muscle. But his body started giving out
Mm.
when we hit the barbed wire crawl. It took him almost half an hour to crawl
Cool.
through it because he was giving out. And at that point, I'm looking at the two guides, and I'm like, at this point, I don't feel safe or comfortable helping him because he was a
Mm.
bigger gentleman, helping him through any more of the obstacles because his body isn't there to help me, to help
Right.
him. So I don't feel safe, and I feel like we need to walk through past all the rest of them because there's no way he's going over these obstacles without help. And I can't alone help this guy because it's not going to be safe. So they agreed. They continued on. So they went ahead of me basically because I was just goofing off and having fun at that point.
Right.
And I ran into you guys,
Yeah.
Oscar Mike. And then I'm like, well, I don't have an athlete anymore, so I'm just gonna hang out with you all.
Yep. And it was awesome too. There was a lady, Mary Ruth, who goes affectionately by the name Race Mom, and was part of the team there in Dallas. And she's got
Yes,
like
we hung out with her in the back.
yeah, she's got a ranch like
Yes,
2 hours away. She's totally awesome.
she's
Uh,
amazing.
and she's ran pretty much everything Spartan has to offer, I think, except for like Hurricane Heats and the Agogi and Death Race and whatnot. And I'm trying to tell her, hey, dude, just go. Don't worry about me. She goes, no, the team lead told me to stay in the back. I'm going to make sure y'all get there. Don't worry about it. And
Mhm.
she would not let me just, go on my own. And I can finally convinced her to stay ahead of me so she could be my pace car. And like you set the pace. That'll let me to keep up with that pace. If I have to fall back, I'll let you know. And she was just totally cool. And we were only, again, only just a few minutes behind the team.
Yeah,
And I was able to catch up and let be muscle for that. Um, But like, if I were to compare Dallas to Sparta, Sparta's harder by far. Sparta was, especially when we get done with the Beast, and the Beast was like 16.67 miles. And we're talking, this is like almost old school Spartan racing where, oh, it's going to be a third or a 21K ish.
Ish.
It was no ish. So I talked to the race director or one of the race directors about that, Thomas. I'm like, you're the guy I got to talk to. Why is that? It's supposed to be a 5K, not a 7K. I'm just giving him crap. He's like, well, it's kind of hard to make it if only a 5K because the way things work in Sparta and
Yeah.
the way things are moving, different directions of things. I'm like, it's supposed to be 5K. And then the super was like a 12K or 13K or something like that. And then you get to the beast and it's like a 27K. It's like,
Well, see,
okay, it's a long day.
I know, and I know a lot of people are gonna argue with me on this one. I missed it. I miss the not knowing. I miss the sprint was what 5 to 8 miles. The
Mhm.
beast was 8 to 10, or the super was 8 to 10, and the beast was 13 plus.
Well, what was the shirt they used to have for the super? I think I've still got one. It
I
was
have a
eight. It was
eight to
eight
ten
plus miles.
or
You can
eight
say eight
plus miles.
to
Yeah,
10.
yeah, just
It's
eight
eight
plus.
plus. That was it.
Hmm? I've
Um,
got the hoodie.
but see, here's the thing I run into with that, and I told Joe to send this too, is okay, if that's the case, just stop telling people you're standardizing. Just stop saying it. Because then my little engineering brain doesn't go into overdrive going, why isn't it only a 5K? Because by the time I got done with the beast, we're 13 miles in. We got 3 more miles left plus, and I'm sitting there having a panic attack because I'm by myself at this point. Like I said, the team's ahead of me. I'm like, where's the finish line? Why aren't we done yet?
And
And
see, that was some of the fun on the old ones because you never knew. Like I said, the very first one I ever did was the Beast in Montana in 2015.
yep,
It was over 22 miles.
well, it's like a freaking ultra at that point.
Yeah,
Well,
it was.
kind of.
You're just like, is this thing ever gonna end? And you're going through, and I mean, they had things like you talked about the log carry. We were doing log carries through a swamp. They had all
In
sorts of things on.
Montana?
Yeah, there was a
Wow.
swamp all like almost shoulder deep, and you had a log as you're carrying it through the swamp, which got
Damn.
crazy because people started dropping the logs, and then you didn't know where they were, so you're tripping over them.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh yeah, it
And
was.
they're pre-cut logs too, right? So
Yep.
it's not like they got a tree and say, here, take this.
Yeah.
Good night.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It was, but I'll be honest, it's still to this day my favorite one.
Your founder's race, right?
Yeah, because it was all a bunch of stuff I've never seen again. Like I said,
Hmm.
the log carry through a swamp. Um, yeah, because they called it, what was it, like ball shrinker because the water was so cold. Once you went into it, it was like, oh, yeah, they just like shrunk right up. But I mean, there was a
Oh
whole
my
bunch of
God.
random. Like we drug a freaking a cinder block for like a ways. There was a bunch of ones I've never seen again.
Well, if you get the chance, and again, it's work, it's money, etc. But 26, you if you can go to Sparta, Greece, you got to try.
I'm
Um,
hoping.
I mean, shoot, sync up with me, man. We'll share a car, whatever. We'll rent that same hotel room, and y'all can have the bed, and I'll bring my air mattress for all I care.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm driving because I know the roads. But
Well, you don't want me to drive.
well, that bad, huh?
I fit in Houston. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, so I'm driving. Um, but it was, I mean, just the way they spaced things out, the way the course was designed, it was epic, and
Yeah.
it's like you just didn't want to fail. You didn't want you even if you had to skip all the other extra obstacles or whatever. It's like I'm gonna at least get this course done. I'm gonna do the mileage because this is important to me.
Yeah.
Um, they what was it? And the A-frame. Oh my gosh, these guys know how to tie an A-frame. They really know what they're doing with the A-frame.
It was a tight A-frame.
It was a tight A. It was the first tight A-frame I've had in years. I think ever actually.
There was
So
one recently. I had one. Where was it? It was one of the races, but it was only because it was like the first day and I hit it early.
Well, this was after, I mean, this was after, several people being on the thing. But they only had, if you look at I don't have the t-shirt with me, it's in my truck, but if you look at the t-shirt for the World Championships that has everybody's name on the back of it, there's only 1,000 people registered for everything this weekend or something like that. And according to what the race directors were saying and what Joe had said is normally it's 2, 3, 4,000 that show up to Sparta to race that weekend.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason they didn't say this part, but it's my surmising is that's part of the reason they're bringing it back to they're bringing it to the states is so they can generate more interest in getting to Sparta. But if you're smart about it, which I wasn't, but I actually got a good deal. The whole trip for me cost about $1,500, which wasn't
Well,
awful.
that's not really that bad.
No, but I was there like I said, I got there Friday, well Thursday night roughly, and then I left Monday morning, so I didn't have any time to drink around or it was pretty much go there, race, leave in that order.
See, and I
There
know
was
I wouldn't be able to get away with that.
and that's
'Cause-
and that's fine. But if you do it smartly, you can stay. Like I want to stay there if I can. Once I do it in 26 again, I want to come in like a week early and just work from Athens, and then toward the end of that week, start heading down to Sparta and work from there from the hotel, and then go race, and then start to come back. So spend a couple weeks over there. There's so much I'd like to see, but even the culture is way different because going into a grocery store, I went to a grocery store there in Sparta just to get some food that wasn't going to kill me. So there's no like in Sparta, there's no McDonald's or Burger King or KFC or anything like that. It's mom and pop shops. It's a couple of like gas stations sort of thing. But they had this grocery store in there, and I'm talking to a lady behind the counter, and do you know English? She goes, no, no, no English. And she brings a guy over, and he knows English pretty well. And she makes me these little ready meals that have little meat patties in them and potatoes. And that's where I got the idea to use the translator app the next day when I went back and got some more. And she was so happy that I, as an American, as an English speaker, would take the time to translate into her language. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're here, see? But um, and knowing that some of those cultural differences exist helps out quite a bit because like uh, there were people asking like, "Where's the Starbucks?" Like, you're in Sparta, Greece, dude. There's no Starbucks here.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you're in Sparta. Shut up about Starbucks.
Yeah, you go have Turkish coffee at or coffee whatever it was. I forget the name of the place now. You're not going to have those things that you're used to. But it's an experience. It's something that somebody told me when I was over there that well, now you're a real Spartan because you've raced in Sparta and completed the World Championships. I'm like, okay, well that's
Mhm.
cool. Sweet. So the last 8 years of my life is invalid? Is that what you're telling me? Yeah, kind of. Huh.
Pretty much. Oh, trust me, I always get stuff like that because that's like the one thing like doing Ironmans because
Okay.
I've only done a half. I'm not a true Ironman.
You're more of an Iron Man than I am because I don't think I can do one yet. So the my next event, like I'll be leaving this weekend for Boston for 2 races in Boston. I'm not going to get a car this time. I'm just going to get Uber everywhere. And then the hostel that I'm staying at is like I think like 2 miles away from the race venue at Fenway Park. So again, I'm just going to show up, race, leave, um, because I don't really have the time to be gone that long. And I do want to get Fenway in again because Fenway was epic last year. It's going to be a little bit colder because you're getting in the end of November, middle of November, and then I've got Phoenix 2 weeks after that, and then 2 weeks after that I got Central Florida. So trying to decide, how to move things around to where I can afford my race passes next year. But one thing I'm going to try to do is the mistake I made this year was I had too many races back to back to back, kind of
Yeah.
like a series, and that's just too much time gone from home, from church, etc. And I want to make it to where I don't have that problem. And then I've had too many race series where I was across the country or I was out of country And what I'm going to try to do this next time, for the next for 25, is kind of front load as many West Coast as I can, and then just basically hop in my hybrid car and drive.
Yeah.
If I can do that it takes me 12 hours to get to San Francisco. If I can go 4 more hours and get to LA for the SoCal trifecta weekend, terrific. I'll grab somebody to go with me for the weekend, and they can drive me home. Um, and then be able to do it that way. And I don't know if that'll save money, but it'll certainly be less cost than getting an airplane ticket and a hotel room and a rental car and gasoline and blah blah blah. And
The
then
other
break.
thing to do is talk to Boggs because Boggs is going to be start doing a lot more West Coast, more Hearts and Scars races. So he'll be
Okay.
driving the trailer with the wheelchairs.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure he would love to have, which I always volunteer him for this stuff. Don't worry about it. But he would love to have company in the car with him so that he's not just like driving by himself. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I could do. That's a good point too. The one thing I learned on this trip too was, or I learned a lot, but one thing I learned on this trip too was, if you can share those expenses with folks, like you said, that time with folks, do it. I'm so used to traveling by myself. I'm so used to not letting people worry about me and not having people be concerned about me that I'll just go rent my car and hop in my car, do what
yeah.
I need to, etc. But if your mission is to, I mean, get over yourself. This is me talking now, because this is me pointing fingers at myself. Is get over yourself a little bit, and take time to be with your team, be with a team, whoever it is, and go share those expenses like Airbnb and food and so forth. And don't try to take it all by yourself. It's just like being on the race course. You don't have to do it all by yourself.
Oh,
And
yeah.
people think
You
that,
don't.
oh, running a Spartan, I do all by myself, and I can do all the burpees, and I can do all this and all that. No, you really don't. You can go out there, you can have a good time. If your headband's not red, la di da. You know,
And you're missing
but
out on a great experience
oh
of doing
yeah.
it with other people and friends. I know when I first started doing it, it was with the Beast OCR, and there was a lot of us that would travel to like Montana and some of these other races. So a lot of times we'd be like, "Hey, I'm heading over Thursday. If you want to ride, hop in. You know, me and Amber are going, and you can just ride with us, and we stop and we'd always leave like Thursday after work. We would stop in, I think it was Caldwell, Idaho,
Hmm.
or Sandpoint, Idaho, right in there somewhere, and we would get a hotel. It's like we'll get a double bed, whatever.
Hmm.
And next morning, get up and drive the rest of the way. So I mean, we took people with us all the time, and it was just a lot more fun, I think, in a way, because then you had that whole different experience, that road trip experience with friends and everything else. And I think that is one thing I miss after like 2020, all of that ended.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think with one thing I am going to try to do this year as well as next year is I'm going to take my, because I've got three Harleys, and one of them is an adventure bike. You've seen that one roll
Hmm.
across the country. I'm going to try to take my adventure bike to some of these events, like the Seattle Trifecta weekend, the Seattle North weekend in early next year. Is if I can front load some of that with just my bike and put my gear in my bike and rent a hotel room over there or whatever, and then of course camping. If I can hop in the car and put all my camping gear that I have on my motorcycle in the car and go grab a KOA spot, I'm good. Legs are probably going to hurt for a little bit, but okay. And it's cheaper to get a KOA spot for a couple days than it is to rent a Motel 6 or a Hilton or a Super 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I wish Spartan would be able to allow us to camp on site, but then you get a whole thing of like kind of what happened at Dallas when some people destroyed the venue or like trashed the venue. You get that kind of stuff going on,
Yeah.
and we can't do that. That would be very bad. So,
Well, it's tough because there's your core group of Spartans who, in my mind anyway, have that respect
mhm,
for the course, have that respect for Spartan, have that respect for everything. And then you
right.
get the people that aren't typical who are out there for the first time who don't. and they trash things. It's like in Hawaii, one of the main reasons, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing one of the main reasons we lost to Koalua Ranch is because they damaged the props. They climbed into
Really?
they climbed into the raptor cage
Oh my word.
and damaged the raptors. There was
Wow.
multiple things that they did, and I'm almost positive. I mean, like I said, I don't know for a fact, but I wouldn't doubt that Koalua Ranch was like these are actual movie props.
Yeah, they were Jurassic Park stuff.
Yeah, Jurassic Park stuff. They had the skull from Skull Island. There was multiple things that were damaged,
Well, with the
especially
same
the
thing
last
with
year.
Google. The same thing with Sugar from when I, again, this is all scuttlebutt, rumor, and hearsay, but they trashed the course of Washougal. In
Hmm.
Dallas, Jen Madura, who, if you guys know who Jen Madura is, Jen's probably 95 pounds soaking wet. She's an ultra runner, awesome lady, Tough Mudder Legionnaire, but she is a very small woman. She takes a backpack on, I think, the sprint. We're talking the 5 kilometer, 3.1 mile course, and she picks up 35 flipping pounds of garbage from Dallas course. And I'm
Hmm.
sorry, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about what team did what and who did this or who did that. But if you're leaving 35 pounds of crap on the course, and we're talking garbage, not clothing, that's easy to
Yeah.
pick up. Crap, garbage. You need to seriously reconsider your existence and consider what you're doing. Because you are making it to where we're not respecting the ranch. I actually called the ranch down there in Texas directly and said, "My name is Dave. I do not represent Spartan. I do not work for Spartan. I do not work for Joe DeSena. But I wanted to thank you for having us at your establishment, having us at your facility, because it was epic. And I
Hmm.
can't, I just, second time I've raced there. And thank you for letting us be there." And she was so grateful that some random person who was on their ranch for a Spartan race would have enough respect for their facility to call them and thank them.
Yeah. And
And go ahead.
I was saying there's just the amount of garbage and everything. It's unacceptable.
Did
We're
you
going
know?
to start losing more and more venues because of this.
Did you know in Sparta, if you trash the venue or if you litter in Sparta, Greece at World Championship, Trifecta World Championships, and you're caught, you will get a lifetime ban.
That's how it should be.
And I'm like, that should be every race.
Hmm.
And I don't, if you're an ultra runner, hey, if you're out there with a red headband on and you're busting your butt to win time and all that, that's great. More power to you. Have a nice day. But if you've got a
Pick up your shit.
pocket, yeah, if you got a pocket that's got a goo in it and you're sucking down a goo as you're running, put that dang goo back thingy back in your pocket.
Hmm.
Pick it up. It's not flipping rocket science.
No,
And there's absolutely no excuse, zero excuse that anybody can give me to leave a bunch of crap everywhere.
no,
And I'm like I said, I'm not going to get into what teams did what, where, how many cookies, but the race in Sparta, there was none of that.
no,
There was no you may have found a piece here and a piece there, but that was it. Not anywhere compared to Dallas. So what I may start doing when I go back to Dallas this next year, if I decide to go back to Dallas, is I may bring a garbage bag with me and
well,
pointy stick and just start picking up crap.
because that's one thing that I mean I know because I do the Ironmans. That's a
Hmm.
rule in Ironman. If a ref sees you intentionally throw something down, if it's not in, because they do have areas that are like these are garbage areas, because
Oh yeah,
sometimes on the bike it's hard to like so they have areas where we can you're supposed to throw it as close to the garbage can as you can, but sometimes you miss.
which is
That's
fine.
different. But if you get seen on course throwing anything down or littering in any way, it's an immediate disqualification. You're done. Get off course.
Well, and the other thing I'll mention with the garbage too is I did witness in Dallas some teams, plural, that were disrespecting staff and volunteers and other racers at the event. Now I'm
I didn't
saying
hear
plural,
about that.
and there were multiple teams that were doing it, and they were from Texas. Um, if you're doing that, I don't care who you are. And I know this, I've had a talk with a few people at Spartan about this. I know there's always two sides to every story. So that's why I'm not naming names. But if you are an individual racer or you're a team or whomever, you're not that important to treat people with disrespect
Yeah.
ever.
If I'm part of a team and I see someone on my team doing that and it's not taken care of, I'm no longer part of that team because I
Yeah.
will not support that because that is no.
And if it's a team that I'm running, they're not part of that team anymore.
Yeah.
Like, because you don't apologize, bye bye, see ya.
Yep.
I won't tolerate it. Everybody, that's what I always thought was so cool about Spartan in Sparta was like everyone from all over the planet was just totally chill and respectful and nice and sweet and loved each other and cared about what everybody was doing. And I'm sitting there going, okay, the last couple races I've had in the States, we didn't see that a whole lot,
No.
except for like just our team. But yeah, the biggest takeaway, guys, is pick your crap up. Yeah, I mean, don't let the course sweep do it. Pick it up yourself. Grow up. Be a friggin' adult, and treat people with respect. That includes blue shirts, red shirts, no shirts, whatever. Because these people are out there doing long jobs that are very difficult, and their nerves are shot to heck to put on a quality event for you. The least you can do is treat them with some dignity because it's
Yeah.
unacceptable to treat them like crap. And if I catch you doing it, I'm going to say something politely to you because I won't tolerate it. It's
I'll say something. I
unacceptable.
don't know about how polite, but I'll say something.
Well, between the two of us, I'll be polite. You can be the mean one and be like, "Come on, man, let's go." But yeah, it is what it is, and I'll do what I can to ensure that people don't do that crap going forward. Again, I'm nobody in the big scheme of things. I'm just one dude out there racing. Um, but yeah, if you're gonna treat people with disrespect, I'll probably say something to you politely. Um, if you're throwing crap around, I'll help pick it up, but I'm gonna make sure that everybody sees it when I bring it back and have a bag full of garbage. Y'all are gonna know about it. So,
I will give someone the benefit of the doubt that it was an accident.
oh sure.
Now, if I say something to him like, "Hey, you dropped that," and they pull an attitude, now there's gonna be
It's,
problems.
it might be a little bit different, but
Might be a little bit
the disrespect thing, I can handle that. I can handle people showing disrespect, but if it's a pattern, like let us in there or whatever, we need to be first because we're the biggest team. Blah blah. I don't care if you're the biggest team. I don't care who you are.
different.
You can treat people with respect, and if you're going to be a jerk about it, well, then you can get your butt to the back of the course
Yeah.
because we're all out here doing the same thing. Now, the only way I'm going to get out of your way is two things. One, you're an elite. I will happily get my tail out of the way for somebody like Nicole Miracle. Nicole and the guys have fun. Go. And if you're an ultra, I
Yep.
will move my tail because that's what you're supposed to do. But if you're just out there with a black headband on, and if I can get out of your way and you're faster than I am, I will because it's respect. But if you're pushing and shoving and saying I'm like me personally, I'm too slow or get out of the way, big guy or whatever, okay, then we're gonna have a problem, and I mean we're gonna have to have a discussion. But generally speaking, I don't see that too often. I think Dallas was the first race where I've seen that, and people just need to chill and
Yeah.
realize we're out there to have a good time, all out there to
And
have.
the one thing I will say is that someone who lives in Texas now, um, Dallas and Houston are two different Texases. Just saying.
Oh yeah, the Houston folks were awesome. The Dallas, this is the fourth or fifth time I've raced in Dallas. The second time I raced at that venue. It is the first time I've seen that level of behavior, that kind
I've
of.
seen it a couple times when I've been over to Dallas for other things, but
Mhm.
I mean, look at their football team. What do you expect?
Well, I mean, they're all just. Hey, you know what? I thought about next time I go to Dallas wearing my Seahawks jersey, but somebody told me they'd beat me up. I'm like, have fun with that.
They they can't beat you up if they can't catch you. Just draw an end zone around you.
Well, the last time I raced in AT&T Stadium, I'm in the end zone for the Cowboys. So I'm like, or I'm in the end zone for the opposing team, right? And we're doing the Atlas Stone carry, and I'm like, this is interesting. Why is that? I'm in the end zone. Cowboys have been here in years. Any
Oh,
any stadium, any football stadium that has a Walmart across the street, I just worry about that team. But anyway, that's neither here nor
yeah, you know.
there. Well, hey, I got to run. I got to get to an appointment, but it's
All
been
right.
awesome talking to you, brother.
It's
And
always awesome talking to you. Let me know
let's
when you want to talk again, and we'll talk a little bit more about everything.
sounds good, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right.